Hey, I'm Angel, founder of AI Flow app, where we help founders turn operational chaos into clean, scalable systems using AI. AI Flow is my podcast where I talk to early stage leaders about the real behind the scenes, what's working, what's breaking, and how they're using tech to move faster with clarity. Let's get into it.
Hi,
How are
how
you?
are you? Good.
I'm doing well.
So how are you? Where in the world are you?
I'm in New York,
Okay.
not too far from you. You're in
Yep.
Yardley, right?
Yep. Do you know
Yeah.
Yardley?
I used to live in Jersey for a little bit.
Okay.
So I was like kind of close. So I know of Yardley, Pennsylvania, but like
Sure.
I'm not
Yeah.
from the area.
Yeah. I grew up in the city of Philadelphia, and it's a kind of a small suburb, but it's a good place to live. I like it.
Yeah, yeah. Appreciate you joining today. I just wanted to like quickly set an agenda.
Sure.
So like we'll start like with your background and like what industry trends you're seeing, and then we'll discuss like your current challenges, where you want to be in the next 6 to 12 months. And then
Okay.
we'll wrap up by like exploring any next steps, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So it
And
should take about like 30, 45 minutes. Yeah.
great. Perfect. And
Yeah.
what's AI Flow and why are you doing this podcast?
Yeah, so AI Flow is like a podcast where I talk to founders about like, you know, their insights on like workflows internally, like operational challenges, any industry trends that you're seeing. So just kind of like to help other founders.
Okay. Great.
And I had started like AI Flow app itself as like kind of like a way to help founders as well. So like a little background about me, like I come from like a few Fortune 100 companies, worked in finance there. Um, saw a lot of like internal workflow challenges that
Hmm.
I felt like I could help founders with. So that's
Sure.
why I started like AI Flow app itself. And like AI Flow itself is just like to like deep dive into these things. So
Okay, that's great.
yeah,
Great. We have
yeah,
all kinds of workflow challenges that every
yeah.
time one's solved, another one presents itself. And so, yeah.
I feel that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Can you share a little bit about like your role and how it fits in the bigger picture at Yardley?
Sure. So I founded the company in 2005 and I left my employer in 2006. So we are a registered investment advisor firm. So we are an independent financial advisor and financial planning and wealth management firm. We have about 180 clients. It's about $215 million of money that we manage for them. It's custodied at Charles Schwab and Fidelity. And yeah, it's great. I love doing this. I was a lawyer before doing this, and this is way better than figuring out my time in 6 minute increments, as you
Yeah.
can imagine.
Okay.
And so
Okay. Yeah.
in
Yeah.
our company, I run the investments and the financial planning, and then another woman in our firm, Karen Lynch, runs operations. And so she is the one that deals more with workflow challenges, but I
Hmm.
always get involved in them because we have to figure them out together.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. How is Yardley like managing or not managing, but like adapting to like industry trends? Like I know there's like more personalization going on in like wealth management and more like digital focus, maybe like AI focused type of work.
Hmm.
Like how are you guys adapting to that?
Yeah, so it's a challenge, but it's kind of cool too. So we have incorporated some AI products. So we use Jump AI, which is a primarily a note taker, but it also does things where it helps with like pre-meeting prep to gather information from the CRM to help us figure out, beyond the stuff that we know the client um, needs. It does a deep dive into the system to pull through notes to see what we might need to bring up with the client. And then also after the meeting, gives us a pretty good summary of what happened and next steps. We still look to edit it to make sure that it's totally accurate, and it generally is about 99%. But it's helped a lot. We also use a product called Greenboard with compliance, and that helps with a lot of different things. say like I need to review emails as part of compliance, right? To make sure our advisors aren't like guaranteeing returns to customers or clients, or that all kinds of things that could be an issue. And for a long time, people have used email archiving systems and used keywords to search. Well, what Greenboard does is it does that, but then it also, uses the language model to um, pull out emails that also have something in it that could be outside of the business scope. And it's so much more accurate, and the emails are so much more that you can see a problem. Like for instance, there's a woman who works for a company that's a partner of ours. We use a lot of their mutual funds and ETFs. And there was an email a couple weeks ago where we had to talk in the afternoon, and we close at 12:30 on Fridays. I often work later than that, and so do some others, but we're closed at 12:30. So I said, if you need to call me on my cell, because at 12:30 you might not be able to get in touch with me. What the AI did was, Mike told so and so to use off-channel communications, possibly to avert compliance things. And like I laughed so hard at that. But yeah, I mean that could be a real infraction. Whereas the previous generation just picking up keywords wouldn't go that far. So it's really neat and it's really pretty cool. But it's a challenge trying to figure out how to use the tools correctly and how to get the best use of them for sure.
So you guys are like using them in-house. So you kind of like bought like a
Yeah, they're products for
software?
advisors. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I see. So that you have to learn it, like take some time to onboard onto it for your employees and like figure that out.
Yeah, we like so with the Jump app, we're going through um the one of our employees is watching all of their webinars and videos next week. And we're also communicating with one of their support specialists to try to figure out how to get the output in the format that's like how we use, to have like less disruption and everybody is like used to seeing it, and it's pretty cool. And I have to say that the support at both of these firms, I guess they're both pretty young, pretty new firms, is fantastic. They really are trying to figure this out, I guess, so that they can scale it for thousands of other clients. And maybe we're a little bit
Yeah.
of a guinea pig, but it works for me. Yeah.
Okay. Glad to hear that works for you. Like, what does a typical day look like for you then?
It's a good question. So they're never always the same. So
Yeah.
we try to have client and prospective client appointments Tuesday to Thursday, and so there's generally like 3 to 7 of those a week. Um, Mondays we have more like time for like staff meetings or conversations about like what happened last week and what's the week ahead. There's always a volume of email. A month or two ago, when we had tariffs on, tariffs off, tariffs on, tariffs off, we had a lot of clients worried about like their portfolios with the stocks and bonds being pretty volatile. So I get a lot of those emails still. And then, trying to figure out like what kind of communications we should have with clients. Like how often do we need to send like a mass email, or what are the important educational things we need to relay? We also try to do a lot of education of the public, right? So our LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, X posts are educational, right? So they're not like
Yeah.
salesy. It's like, hey, did you know about the Roth IRA? And talk about like
Yeah.
bullet points about the Roth. So,
I did see a lot of that on your LinkedIn.
okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That the hope is that not everybody can afford to work with an advisor, and a lot of people wouldn't want to even if they could afford to. And so yeah, the idea is like to try to educate people. There's a lot of stuff that gets put out that has an agenda, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's good or bad for people to read. Our agenda is to try to educate people in a neutral, if possible, tone, right? So like, hey, here's
Yeah.
some things, here's some pros and cons, and take with it what you can. And then maybe if some of those pieces fits hit somebody that may be possible client for us, and they reach out. Then we'll go through that discovery process, and sometimes it works.
Okay. Interesting. Are there any, I know I mentioned a couple of industry trends. Is there any like other major industry trends that you're seeing? Any shifts?
Yeah, well, that personalization thing is great for us, right? Because we're a small firm, 7 people. Like, there's 2 advisors and one woman who will be an advisor, and so everything's pretty personalized for us,
Okay.
and that's a good thing, right? Like the mass market cookie cutter solutions, sometimes work, sometimes they don't. I think, financial planning and wealth management, there's a world of possible choices of like what you can do to protect and grow your money and your situation. And I think it really helps to have somebody individually look at your situation, talk with you about what you're trying to achieve, and figure out like the best way for you to do that. It's an area where things really should be personalized, but that's hard to do,
Yeah.
and especially hard to do at scale. Some of those big mutual
Sure.
fund companies that have millions of customers, and they talk to 1,000 people a day or 500, whatever. How can you possibly personalize that? You
Yeah.
know, you just can't. But their market thing is really, really low cost and huge brand recognition.
Yeah.
We don't have either of those things. Nobody knows who Yardley Wealth Management is.
Well, I do.
Well, there you
You
go.
do. Okay. Are there any metrics that you're focused on growing right now? Any specific ones?
Yeah, so there are a couple things. Always trying to grow revenue, and our profitability is good. We'd like to keep that, right?
Yeah.
Some of the things we're looking at are some of the marketing that we do. See what makes sense. Take a look at that. Our biggest challenge right now is couple different things, right? I want to build this firm so it's sustainable if something were to happen to me in the short term or for the long term. I'm not a young guy anymore, and I'm accepting of that. And I feel like lately it's my mission to grow this firm so that the employees and clients are taken care of even when I'm not actively working. Now, I don't think that's going to be anytime soon, so I have a good runway to develop that. But yeah, my biggest goal is to develop like the next generation leadership in this firm and other talents, right? Both the advisory and the operations side. So those are the biggest things, and it's hard to get good metrics around that, right? Like
Yeah.
somebody's a good financial advisor or not. Like, so the other advisor we have is a great advisor, and what I have to teach her now is the other things about running this business, right? And that will take some time, but I love the challenge. And then she has to spend a lot of her time teaching the younger woman how to be a good advisor, right?
Yeah.
And I spend a little bit of time on that, but it's mainly her task. In terms of other metrics, there aren't a whole lot, like other than like typical business KPIs. Looking at a lot of numbers to see like
Mhm.
how we'll grow over the next 5, 10, 15 years. And we actually engage a consultant for that, for some help with that. Even though I have an MBA, I got that MBA a long time ago. And it's good to get some help from people who do this for a living.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anywhere, like, I know we kind of touched on it a little bit just now, but is there anywhere you want to be specifically in like the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, in the next 6 to 12 months, what I'd like is to, hopefully we will grow our revenues 15% from last year, and we're on pace for that, according to the last 6 months.
Yeah.
We'd like to continue to grow to develop the employees that are brought on more recently. And we'd like to continue to get better at workflows. It's funny, like, so the woman
Yeah.
that I referred to before, Karen,
Yeah.
has like more time in this industry than me, and
Uh-huh.
which is a lot. And she said like it never gets any easier because as soon as you figure something out and then you grow 20 by 20 clients, or you grow by two more people in the office, you need to kind of change how you do things. You know, it's a great challenge, but it never goes away. And it's
Yeah.
kind of a good thing, right? One of the things I joke about is like my day is never the same from day to day. Every once in a while, it would be nice to just go in and respond to some emails and not have to put out fires or not have to think about some big issue. But
Yeah.
I guess it keeps it interesting.
Could you delve a little bit more into like the operational challenges maybe then and what like how it changes when you onboard new clients?
Yeah. So, 10 years ago, clients did everything by filling out forms in our office, right? Well, now they get an electronic package that they need to complete digitally. The good side of that is, they do that when it's convenient for them, not when they're in the office. The downside is that we're not necessarily there to help them if they have questions, right? So a
Okay.
lot of times, even if we think the forms are kind of easy to follow, if somebody's never done it before, um, even if there's not like a glitch in the form, it could be something they're not sure about, right? So it's trying to get those forms to a way that in a situation where they really can fill them out pretty easily, right? And if
Mhm.
another operational challenge is, okay, we send the form to them, how many times do we have to remind them to please fill out the form? Again, if they're not sitting right here, maybe I'll get it this weekend, and then it's Sunday night, maybe I'll get it next weekend.
Yeah.
Then a big thing is like opening accounts, transferring accounts from other custodians or other advisors, uploading or having the client upload relevant financial stuff for us to do financial planning. That's a lot of different documents. And so again, 15 years ago or 10 years ago, they would just bring in all their paper files. Well, now they get most of that stuff digitally, and maybe their kids could upload those things in 5 minutes, but it's a little bit of a challenge sometimes, right? Because they
Yeah.
don't necessarily do that all the time. You could tell sometimes what clients do for a living by how easy it is for them to fill out those forms and upload those documents, right? And then there's
Yeah.
a lot of compliance that we have to follow, right? So like rules set by the SEC or guidelines set by the SEC. And so there's a lot of stuff that clients have to complete that's really not related too much to what we do, but they still have to fill it out because like when the SEC checks, we have to make sure we have it and then we have a document and process. And those things change a lot. We might have different changes to what we need, what we feel we need to complete a couple times a year. And, that means, and so the question is, if somebody's got to fill out a rollover suitability form, when's the best time for them to do that? When would it be easiest for them to do that? Is it when they're in the meeting and they could just sign something? Or do we send that digitally and hope that they could click two things that it comes right? Like, you don't know. And
Hmm.
some people fill those things out really easily and some others don't. Um, and the transfer from someone's old 401k or 403b, a couple of years ago, we realized that people just need help with that. So a woman in our office, Sandra, is always on the call with clients to do that. So instead of just hoping that they can figure it out and get through some other company that doesn't want to give up the account, we have somebody on the call with them. So Jane Doe calls her company, puts us in, says, "Hey, please speak to my advisor." Then Sandra from our office will take it from there. And so there are always challenges to try to make things as easy as they can be for the client so that things happen faster for us. And in the world, like some places like Amazon have a standard that it's so easy to do things that the
Hmm.
rest of us really struggle with trying to keep up. And we
Yeah.
want things to be easy for clients, but I'm not a tech guy. I'm a lawyer and MBA. Like I don't know how to
Yeah.
build software or fix software. And I guess the other big challenge really is getting the different things that we have to work together so that it streamlines or speeds up the process, right? So
Yeah.
we have financial planning software, we have investment software, we have a bunch of different things, and some of them work real well together, and others don't. And
Hmm.
what is available changes a lot. We'll get a notification, oh, the API for blah, blah, blah is operational now. And so then we have to go and try to figure out how that helps us or if it does. So yeah, it's, it is, I do find it interesting. Like these kind of puzzles are more up my wheelhouse than if you said, hey, like fix that window. I wouldn't know how to do that at all.
Okay. It's funny you mentioned Amazon. I actually used to work for them. But that's fun. That's funny. Okay. That was really detailed and really
Yeah,
good
I'm sorry.
insight.
If somebody starts to
Yeah.
ask me about work, I just can't stop talking. So I'm sorry about that.
I'm all ears. No, no. It's great. I am all ears. Is there like delving deeper into that, is there anything specific or the manual work or like older systems maybe slowed you down like more than expected?
Huh. So there's situations now where stuff is so much faster than it would have been, and I didn't
Hmm.
realize it was slow in the old sense. Um, you know, I guess a lot of the digital stuff does is just much better than getting paper because we would have to scan the paper, right? So instead
Yeah.
of somebody uploading digital, we'd have an employee scanning 10 or 15 different documents, right? So the client uploading digital copies that for the most part they get anyway, right? Like
Hmm.
the amount of people who get paper for their mortgage statements is pretty low now compared to what it would have been 10 years ago. Now that's the first thing that popped into my mind, but that could be a giant one because scanning 10 different sized documents and then filing them all would take a lot longer than just having them upload it and put them in the digital files in 5 seconds a piece or whatever it would take.
Yeah. And now you guys are able to upload it with like
Yeah,
a click.
I'd say the only things that people bring in sometimes by paper, not digitally, are tax returns. If they do them themselves, they don't have them digital.
Okay.
And their estate planning documents, they don't often have digital signed copies of those. And so, but if typically clients will give us 10 to 25 or 30 other documents, and if it's only two that aren't digital, or you know, a set that isn't digital, that is a big difference.
Okay. Do you find that those are common, like the paper forms?
Yeah, I'd say,
Okay.
well, at this point, more and more people have digital tax returns, right?
Yeah.
Um, but it's still not all. And then it's very unusual for people to have a digital copy of their estate planning documents. So that is a normal thing. Now, sometimes they will have digital unsigned, and that's fine for our purposes because we don't
Mhm.
need to know that they were signed. But yeah, it's
Okay.
still kind of normal.
Okay. Are you planning on going full digital,
Well, that's not up to
or
us.
is that something that you want to?
Yeah, so we don't keep paper anything.
Okay.
But if somebody comes in with their tax return, we scan it and then give them the
Okay.
tax return back. Yeah. And we don't have a filing case. So even though the company was formed 19 years ago, there's nothing in paper.
Impressive.
Now, I'm not saying I don't write notes on a yellow pad from time to time just because it's
Yeah.
easier and quicker for me. Of
Hmm.
course, then I can't read them, so I don't know if that's better.
I'm more of a one note kind of person, but
Sure.
yeah, I get that. Is there like, I guess like if you could wave a magic wand
Hmm.
and fix one back office or financial process, what would that be?
Probably the account opening and transfer process.
Okay.
Because it takes generally even the digital forms takes the custodians, takes the clients however long it's going to take them to answer and upload, And even if they don't have any issues, it's a couple days generally from when we send them to when they get them back. Then we submit them to the custodian. Generally, it's like 1 to 3 days from the open the account, but often there'll either be a typo of some sort, right? That they do when they upload it, like in the processing, or the client might have done that we might have missed. And then the account transfer can take anywhere from 1 week if everything is great to 3 or 4 weeks. And sometimes we get notifications saying like, "Oh, we didn't notice this account here, so they sent the money back." Well, there is an account there, like, and the account number was in. It's just something that got caught in. And so, and we don't bill on people until we actually can manage their accounts, right? Which makes
Yeah.
sense. And so that sometimes it's frustrating for me that if somebody says on April 1st, like, okay, I want to proceed with you guys, it could be June until we actually are managing accounts, and then we bill in arrears. So if accounts come in June 15th and our billing is June 30th, we might not even bill them, or might bill them for like 2 weeks out of the month. So it might be October until we bill on those accounts, like the full billing. And so yeah, if that process could be sped up dramatically, that would be fantastic. That costs us tens of thousands of dollars a year in lost revenue. Um, Even though it's a lot of work to try to avoid that or to minimize that,
Yeah.
it just doesn't work great all the time.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
2 months. That's a lot. It's a
Yeah.
long time. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's what's frustrating is that you often will see like some mutual fund companies like Vanguard, like if we put in a transfer there, it could happen in 2 days, right? And
Yeah.
so there are situations where we do an account application, the client does it right away, it opens, the transfer comes in, and it could be a week. And then there are other situations where it's 4 to 6 weeks, and there could be an error. Another thing is that sometimes they, like from 401k and 403b plans, they still mail paper checks. There was an article in the paper this week where guy did a rollover and they sent the paper check to him, and then had to go and then mail it to his new place, and then the check was stolen and fraudulently cashed. Like in 2025, there's no need for paper checks, right?
Yeah.
They should be able to process that digitally and give the IRS the information it needs. And a lot of places just don't. And I don't know if it's a systems problem, or cynically, maybe they just want to hold on to those assets for as long as they can. And if the paper makes it take a week or two longer, they did that. I don't know, but it's very frustrating.
That is frustrating to think dinosaur tech in 2025.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2025.
Yeah. Like I already feel like when I was in corporate that some of the tech I worked with was dinosaur, but not that dinosaur. I don't
Yeah.
know.
We
Yeah.
so we had a client who had took a distribution from a 401k, and they wrote him a check, and then he had to send the check to us that we could at least then digitally upload to
Yeah.
Schwab, right? We didn't have to mail it. We could digitally upload it. But, that check had to be mailed 2 times. That's silly, right? They should be better
Yeah.
than that,
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that.
right? There's no reason
Yeah,
that couldn't have been done electronically, right to his account. I don't think.
I agree. 100%. That's wild.
Yeah.
So
It's a check
yeah,
for like $800,000 has to be mailed 2 times. That's just nuts. Yeah.
yeah, I feel like things in like the financial services spaces can definitely be improved and be more digital. And I know it's like a trend that we are trending towards in general
Hmm.
as finance, but definitely could use a lot more work still.
Yeah, and it could be going
Yeah.
a lot faster. That
Yeah,
could be a
definitely.
lot faster. And then I don't
Yeah.
know how much, how long ago your time was in the financial world, but we
Yeah.
still get transfers where you need like a medallion signature guarantee. So you need to go
Mhm.
to a bank and have somebody at the bank guarantee your signature on a transfer. We only see that about once every year or two now, but it's an absurd requirement. The person at the bank doesn't know who you are, right? Like the form
Yeah.
again, it's a form being mailed out to somebody.
Yeah.
It's just rife with like issues. Um, yeah, could be a lot better.
Yeah, definitely. But I really appreciate you joining us today.
Yeah. No, thanks for the invite and the offer. It's an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
I can tell you, I could talk forever about work challenges. My poor wife has heard
Yeah.
them forever, and so she doesn't want to hear them all the time anymore. Although she's more patient than you'd think after all these years. She listens, and it's good.
Sign of a good relationship. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm a lucky guy.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for
Yeah.
joining me on AI Flow. Appreciate your insights that are really helpful today.
Well,
Hopefully they're helpful to other founders as well.
okay. Thanks so much
Yeah.
for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Have a good one.
All right. Thanks. You too. All right.
Bye.
Bye bye.